So happy Thursday afternoon. Welcome to 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. He's Dan Lucero. The two of us with you until 6 o'clock today. Following a series finale loss for the Kansas City Royals. Another good game. Another game where they had a chance. Another game where they fought. Got to see someone make their Major League debut. It didn't go especially well for John McMillan. Gave up a home run to Cal Raleigh. Saw Carlos Hernandez give up a home run on one pitch to Julio Rodriguez, and that is what spelled doom for the Royals today. They lose 6-4. They end up losing their series with the Mariners. Fun series. Some of the most fun Royals baseball we have had all year. Unfortunately, though, the boys in blue did not end up on the right side of that fun baseball as we head into a weekend set with one of the hottest teams in the game, the Chicago Cubs, starting tomorrow. 1:20 first pitch tomorrow.
Friday day baseball is God intended.
It is the absolute best. So we are back here with you. Pardon the late start, but happy to be hanging out with you on this Thursday afternoon. We've got a bunch to get to today. We'll talk some college football coming up here in just a moment. Bill Connolly's SP Plus numbers came out yesterday at ESPN. His final preseason numbers, transfers, returning production, scheduling, everything that goes into account has been taken into account. Where does K-State land? Where does KU land? We'll touch on that coming up here in just a moment. Also in this first hour of the show, we've got What Is Wrong With You, and we'll hear some audio from Chiefs camp. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes both speaking earlier today, so we'll hear from both of them coming up in a little bit. We've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines coming up. Mitch Holthus will join us, and a whole lot more coming up on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Plus, K-State in action earlier today. 8 a.m. The Cats were in action as they took on Team Mexico. Good game. Sloppy game. Good game, though.
Interesting finish.
Yeah, to say the least. Definitely a fair way to put it. So we'll recap that game coming up later on. We'll take your texts. We'll take your YouTube comments as well. Text line number 785-272-9429. And our YouTube channel can be found at 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Easiest way to find it, just go to youtube.com. Make sure you're signed in. Search 580 Sports Talk. And that way, if you're signed in, you can subscribe to us and know when all of our videos are live or have just been posted or what have you. And again, I want to remind you that as football season approaches, we've got KU, K-State, Chiefs, Washburn, high school stuff. We're going to have a ton of content going out on the YouTube as well, of course, as 580 AM. So make sure you're checking that out. Again, our YouTube channel called Sports on 580. No, it's not. It's called 580 Sports Talk.
Right. We've changed that.
All right. So everybody has gotten something wrong this
Except
week.
for me.
No, you said something. You called them the San Diego Chargers.
Yes,
yesterday.
I did call them the San Diego Chargers. But spiritually, they are still the San Diego Chargers. I contend that I was not wrong. I have not gotten anything wrong pertaining to the branding of the show, the Twitter handle, anything like that. I am as yet unblemished. I may never call them the Las Vegas Raiders on the first try, but darn it, I'm not going to mess up the branding of the show.
That's fair.
I am a true professional.
So if you want to find us on YouTube, search 580 Sports Talk. That is the way to find us. Thank you. All right, let's get to what we wanted to get to today. Real quick, anything Royals related? Cap off this series, this game?
The bullpen's a bummer.
Yeah, they stink.
Yeah, bullpen is bad. Go back to those old days. That's an old reference. Our longtime listeners might remember that one. They continue to again put up a fight. They're in every game, which was not the case earlier this year. Still seeing some good things with the offense. Nelson Velasquez, ding to dong.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty exciting to see him off to such a good start in his Royals career. Michael Massey swinging the bat. MJ Melendez, couple more hits.
Bobby back on the horse.
Yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. RBI double today. Couple of extra base hits, in fact, for Bobby Baseball. Some good things, just the bad outweighing the good, which is what usually happens when you're a team with the record that the Royals have. And right now, the bad is the bullpen. There's just not enough reliable arms in that bullpen right now, as evidenced by the fact that the bridge to the closer today was Jackson Kowar and Taylor Hearn. And Kowar did fine. Kowar actually better than fine. 3 strikeouts, an inning and a third. That's about as good as I've ever seen him on a big league mound. It was Carlos Hernandez, just as they say in baseball, he got beaten to the spot. by the hitter. The hitter beat him to the spot. Carlos Hernandez went 97 up and in. It's a strike. It's not a terrible pitch, but when great hitter beats you to the spot, it can go a really long way. 97 going in, 110 going out off the bat of Julio Rodriguez for the go-ahead 3-run dinger.
Imagine the bullpen from May with the offense right now. Royals win.
That's contender, baby.
Yeah, that's a pretty dang good team.
Yeah, Barlow and Chapman rolling.
Yeah.
Like, it was still obviously the right move to trade those guys.
Right.
Don't get it twisted. But, yeah, that's the kind of thing that tends to happen. You know, the guys who were reliable, you trade those guys. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And you see if, maybe some of these new guys can be anything. The McMillan kid made his debut there in the 9th inning. You have my attention if you hit triple digits with 3 of your fastballs. Unfortunately, he too was, as they say in baseball, beaten to the spot on a 98-mile-an-hour inside fastball. Cal Raleigh pulled it down the line and out for a home run that provided the final run, the final margin of the game. But 2 strikeouts for McMillan in his big league debut. So, swings and roundabouts.
By the way, checking in on those 2 standout relievers who the Royals dealt at the deadline, Aroldis Chapman, been pretty good for Texas. 1.69 ERA. He's made 16 appearances so far. He's given up 10 hits and 4 walks in 16 innings.
Yeah.
Pretty good. He is also striking out 17 plus per 9. Looking pretty good for Aroldis Chapman.
He's awesome. Yeah.
Scott Barlow with the San Diego Padres. Like a lot of Padres this year, not so good. Only pitched 7 2/3 innings. He's given up 9 hits in those 7 2/3 innings and 7 earned runs. Not great. That's an 8.22 ERA with more than a 1.5 whip. Not a great start in San Diego for Scott Barlow, but the weather is great.
Yeah.
That hair, perfect fit for San Diego.
It really is. Good volume, good bounce.
Is he a Cali guy?
That's a good question.
I should have looked that up while I had his page up just now from Baseball Reference. No, he's from Connecticut.
The exact opposite.
The anti-San Diego. New London, Connecticut. All right, that is talking Royals baseball. They have a chance to, you want to talk about a team playing spoiler? Couldn't do that a whole lot against the Mariners in this series as they're fighting for a wild card spot. The Cubs are right in the thick of a divisional and wild card race.
Yeah, they're rolling right now, playing good ball.
Royals could mess that up a little bit.
They have been swinging the crap out of the bat, if that's a thing. That's not really a saying you hear very often. They don't say that in baseball very often. But no, they've been stinging the ball. Gosh, really for the last 2 months. They've had that lineup top to bottom has been pretty tough. And you go up against, again, a Royals pitching staff that has been shaky. Is it Reagan's tomorrow? I think it is. I think it's Reagan's tomorrow.
I can tell you that it is tomorrow.
It's his turn. He didn't pitch in the Seattle series. His last time was Saturday, so it's his turn.
Yes. So it will be Cole Reagans versus Jamison Tyon tomorrow, who has not exactly been good this year, but has been better lately. Saturday is the marquee pitching matchup. Brady Singer versus Justin Steele. That's a banger.
Yeah, Justin Steele was an all-star. Yeah.
Yep. And then Sunday, I'm going to tell you right now, that game is going to be stupid. Sunday's game is going to get dumb. It's Jordan Lyles versus Kyle Hendricks. My guy, the Professor Hendo, he was great when he came back from injury this year. He was awesome. He had a no-hitter into, was it the 8th or the 9th inning against the Giants on the road? He was awesome for about a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
He's been anything but ever since then.
So what you're saying, the denizens of the bleachers at Wrigley Field would be well served to bring their gloves?
I would bring my glove if I was sitting in left or right field. By the way, left field rules, right field sucks. But yeah,
wow.
It's going to get wild.
I only ever sat in right field when I went.
Yeah,
we had to be in Kosuke Fukudome territory.
Oh no, that's fair.
This is when I went. This is when I went to Cubs games. It was 2008.
Look, when Kosuke Fukudome was around, man, that was electrifying.
There was a lot of the first month or so of the Kosuke Fukudome experience were incredible. Electrifying. The Chicago was in love with Fukudome. There was a lot of.
You still see the Fukudome jerseys every once in a while.
A buddy of mine has one.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So good. Didn't end all that well with Kosuke, but the start was awesome.
No, like the first month or two, man, he owned Chicago.
It was incredible.
A lot of people wearing some headbands. There's some, I won't even say borderline racist.
Oh, yeah. Wildly inappropriate.
Yeah, super, super problematic.
You could find some T-shirts out front that you would get kicked out of establishments now wearing out on Ashland.
2008 was a wild time.
Much more wilder than now. From the Diamond, let's head to the Gridiron. Wanted to get to some college football. Yesterday, the great Bill Connolly at ESPN had his SP Plus numbers come out. That is his proprietary advanced metric for ranking teams throughout Division I college football. He actually has the numbers for every level of college football, but generally we're talking about the Division I ranks, FBS in particular. 1 through 131. Well, now it's 133 with a couple of teams jumping up. Not surprisingly, your top teams in the country, just like the AP poll: Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama. LSU comes in 5th. This incorporates a lot of stuff, and it changes and is weighted differently over the course of the year if you're not super familiar with SP+. Right now, and for the first couple weeks of the season, a lot of weight on what happened last year and the production you returned from last year, quality of players you returned from last year. Middle of the season, there's less of that, more of this year's production, and by the end of the year, the preseason stuff really doesn't matter at all in this metric. So this is all just based on who did you add in the portal? Who did you lose? Are any of your freshmen going to contribute? And who did you bring back? What is your returning production? That is really what goes into the formula at the start of the season. Let's start right away with our teams. Number 20 in the nation. A bit of a dip below number 19, Wisconsin. But at number 20, the Kansas State Wildcats. According to SP+, they have the number 27 ranked offense, number 31 ranked defense. And the metrics indicate that run through the system, I think it's like 10,000 times they run it through the system, K-State would finish with 7.8 wins this year. So call it an 8-4 regular season, which I don't think would be a bad year by any means. In fact, that's a pretty good year.
Yeah, most teams see an 8-win season as pretty successful. I think I feel like for Kansas State, that should be the baseline. That should be about where they are every year.
I agree.
Is they should be about 8-4 every year, no questions asked. And with the capability, obviously, to outstrip that as they did last year. But 8-4 should be like the baseline expectation. You should go in every year thinking we should be about an 8-win football team. Catch some breaks, have a really good senior class, have an elite quarterback. Maybe we can play above that. We win 10, maybe we win 11, maybe we win the Big 12, like last year. Have some bad luck, some injuries. We should still be able to make a bowl. So that to me is like that's the baseline. So that suggests to me that this should be a pretty baseline level, excellent Kansas State team, solid Kansas State team.
I think if you're a K-State fan, I would have that same opinion that should be the minimum for what we expect this year, given what we're bringing back, given how good the offense we think can be. And also, this isn't the best way to kind of break down these numbers, but generally speaking, they have not been favorable to Kansas State football. Not in a way that like K-State is picked to be, instead of top 20, bottom 20 in the country, but a lot of times the way K-State plays, the style with which they play is not conducive to looking great in these advanced metrics. It's kind of like Pacoda with the Royals when they were in their heyday in the past decade, where I remember, I think it was one of the World Series years they were picked to finish below 500.
Yeah, I think they were predicted like go 72-90 the year they end up winning the World Series.
Yeah. So
something like that.
Similar to that. And it was about the style, right? It was about the way the Royals won those games, like the way K-State has won games historically. Now, I think that has evolved a little bit because I think K-State has evolved a little bit. I think this is going to be a more explosive offense this year because I think you've got the quarterback and the offensive line to set up more explosive plays. You're going to have more of those opportunities. So I would say I think K-State is a little bit underrated here. The teams immediately ahead of them, 17 through 19, Washington, Ole Miss, Wisconsin. I like Washington a lot this year. I'm intrigued by Wisconsin. Ole Miss, I don't know. I could not give you a read on Ole Miss.
This is the part where we should note that star rankings are a part of
Yes.
the SP Plus.
Yes.
That that is part of their formula to determine like your talent level, essentially.
So if you're going to put a lot of stock in that, obviously SEC and some Big Ten teams are going to get a bump.
This
over
is
Big
why,
12 programs.
Yeah, and this is also why Texas and Oklahoma are looked on so favorably by S&P.
Yes, for what it's worth, Texas number 9 in the country, Oklahoma number 15. Any other thoughts on where K-State lands here? I mean, I think that's pretty fair. If you were going to have me rank the 27 best offenses in the country, I think K-State would be higher than number 27 if I was just going one by one with my perception of it. But otherwise, similar to the AP poll, I can understand this. Anything lower than 20, I'd feel like, not disrespect, but I think K-State belongs a little higher than that.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, the pollsters have them in the mid-20s, so to be just outside of that, at number 20, it feels like people have a pretty good. I think that's healthy to have reasonable expectations for Kansas State this year.
Yeah,
and I think that the preseason rankings for Kansas State represent reasonable expectations. Be about an 8 or 9 win team with a chance to be even better than that.
KU comes in 62nd. And I think this is the team that is a little more intriguing of the two when it comes to a ranking like this. The offensive numbers rank 33rd in the country. That's dang good. There are 133 teams. That means there's 100 worse than where KU is. That's great. Defensively, 103 out of 133. Not so good there. You have to go quite a ways to find another team with a defense ranked that low anywhere in these rankings. So not especially favorable to the Jayhawks there with 103rd ranked defense. Look, I get it, and I'm not going to dispute the numbers because, again, if you're basing it on who did you bring back, what have you done in the past, who have you added, well, you're bringing back some studs. Your secondary with Kobe Bryant, solid. Your linebacking core, I really like that group with Craig Young and with Rich Miller in particular, and Tywan Berryhill too. That's your main three. But also linebackers, not the most valuable position in football. Defensive line, getting after the quarterback. KU is not really bringing back anyone who got after the quarterback a whole lot last season. That is a big deal in a thing like this. Stars matter. Again, KU recruiting on the uptick, still not exactly recruiting like Alabama and Georgia. So you can understand all of those things. I think Kansas is going to be better than the 62nd team in the country this year. The teams around them, like West Virginia is ahead of KU. Cal is ahead of KU. Fresno State is one behind. They lost a ton. Troy is 2 behind KU. Like, that's the company they're keeping.
This is where it is important to note that something that factors into the SP Plus is past performance. And Kansas State's past performance, Kansas's past performance is, well, it is what it is. We all know what it is. So there is a factor there that I think keeps Kansas down just a little bit, that there is a historic drag on their ranking in the SP Plus that one 6 and 7 season isn't going to undo all by itself.
Honest question here. How much of the larger, when you talk about people who cover the Big 12 or cover college football in general, there's a lot of belief that KU is going to slip this year or is going to slide a little bit. I've even seen from people who cover the league who say, I think KU might be a better team this year, but is still going to finish with a worse record because of who they play.
Yeah,
and because
schedule.
We don't trust the defense, etc. Do you feel like that is more based on what this roster is and what should be expected of this team? Or do you think that's more based on the fact that this team sucked for 15 years?
Yeah, I think there's some of it that's tempered expectations. Like, you don't want to get too far out over your skis when talking about a football program that has been what Kansas has been for the past 15 years. But I think the exercise that you need to do, and I think this is valuable for Kansas State too, when you talk about them, is forget about the brand name. Just take the logos off the helmet, take the colors out of it. Just put these dudes in generic NCAA football creative player jerseys and say, okay, what are the facts about what this team returns? Kansas returns more offensive production this year than any other team in the country, according to the S&P Plus rankings. No other team in America returns more offensive production than Kansas. And strictly based on that, you would say this team can take a step forward. You would think this team can be better and maybe win more than they did last year. I think that's reasonable to believe given that. I think a lot of the hesitation that people have nationally certainly is based on what Kansas football has been, what they've represented the last decade and a half. Likewise, I think with Kansas State, like I said, I think that probably like 9 or so wins feels about right to me. But then again, let's take everything else out of the equation and just say this is a team that won the Big 12 last year. Their starting quarterback is back. Their entire offensive line is back. Like, that's a pretty good foundation to be like that kind of good again, right?
Yep.
So if we were saying that about Oklahoma or Texas, the hype would be off the charts. But we're saying it about Kansas State. And I think even subconsciously, even for media that tends to be more friendly to the in-state schools, like, us, there's still that subconscious tempering of expectations given the established performance level of the programs in question.
KU brings 8 starters back from last year's defense. Now, most of the turnover is again on that defensive line, which is the big worry. But I am of the belief that this team is going to be better than it was last season. I think the experience is going to play a big role in that. And I've said before, I think the number is 7 wins for this KU team. But again, I'm not going to be one of the weirdos on Twitter who yells at Bill Connolly because they don't understand that it's just math that puts this all together. So I'm not going to disagree with it. I get why the ranking is there, but I feel like KU is going to be higher by the end of the season. I'm fairly confident in that. One other thing to note from this, the top 4 teams from the Big 12 in the SP Plus, all within the top 21. Texas 9, Oklahoma 15, K-State 20, TCU number 21. Kind of like what we've talked about in terms of branding and reach and all that, the perspective on the Big 12. On the field, it looks like it's pretty clearly that same way, too. That, the SEC, it just means more. The Big 10, the brands, the history, the recruits, etc. The Big 12's in a pretty good spot, though, competition-wise.
Yes, and unlike the Big 10, the dregs are still, like, decent football teams. Like, the awful teams in the Big 10 are truly wretched. There isn't anybody, maybe Iowa State. They do have to replace their entire offense because they're all getting 8 men outed. Like, so
but assuming that they hadn't broken the law,
right,
you would imagine they would have at least been a tough out.
Yes. Yeah. Tough out. Great way to put it. There are some teams that are flat out not tough outs in the Big 10. There aren't any in the Big 12. And that is important. That, that may make it hard to make a 4-team playoff, but it should help your standing once the 12-team playoff is a reality by next year.
Like your bottom 2 teams in each division in the Big 10 this year. In the East, Rutgers 6th, Indiana 7th. In the West, Purdue 6th, Northwestern 7th. Those teams are going to be terrible. Now, I can't speak to Purdue specifically. I know Northwestern's going to be awful. I'm certain Indiana's going to be bad. Rutgers felt like they had some momentum for a while. I think that has all gone out the window in the last 6 months or so. I mean, all those teams would finish last in the Big 12. I'm pretty confident about that. So I'm with you. I think the fact that maybe you don't have the super top-end teams, but the fact that you've got so many that are good and are competitive, I think makes for honestly a better product more often than not. Let us know your thoughts on some of these SP Plus numbers. You can go find those at ESPN Plus. Right now, we'll get to our first break of the show. We'll come back. We've got today's What Is Wrong With You coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. What is wrong with you time on this Royals game shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk? I'm Brendan. He's Dan. Our current winner for the week, the gentleman who broke into a house, robbed it while the tenant was gone, then to try to cover their tracks the next day, came inside, lit it on fire, and tried to burn it down. And then they blamed a lightning strike. They told the police, no, it was a lightning strike that caused this. And the police believed them, in fact, in Trotwood, Ohio, excuse me. Unfortunately, they forgot to cut the security camera before they torched the place, and that camera caught them not only leaving the gas can in the house, but them actually using the gas can.
Them starting the fire, them doing the crime. Yes.
Yeah, not especially smart criminal activity. Always look for the camera if you're going to destroy a place. Before we get to today's stories, a reminder that What Is Wrong With You is brought to you by Top City Metal Supply, who cuts the metal you need to your specifications, saving time, money, and material. So never settle when it comes to your metal with Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Dan, why don't you take us away with our first story today?
We are, of course, the sunflower state, and people love to take pictures amongst the sunflowers.
Yes.
In our state, they are a popular destination for engagement photos, graduation photos, things of that nature.
When I was in school, I swear to God, about a month or so from now, when you get the golden hour, a little bit earlier in the day, every single woman I knew who was in a sorority or a guy I knew who had a girlfriend in a sorority, right about this time a month from now, Facebook covered in them. Sunflower pictures every day. Every single day, sunflower pictures.
Well, on Hayling Island on the south coast of England, there is Stoke Fruit Farm. And on that fruit farm, there is an attraction called Sam's Sunflowers. And people like to take photos amongst the sunflowers or amidst the sunflowers at that attraction. The problem that Stoke Fruit Farm is having with this is that a lot of people take their shirts off when they do it.
Nice.
Yes. And a lot of those people who do so are women. One visitor said her son stumbled across a woman wearing just a thong and, quote, didn't know where to look. I think he knew where to look.
Yeah.
Sam Wilson, who runs the site at Northme, confirmed there had been a few isolated incidents of nudity. He said there had been reports of 4 naked photo shoots since the flower picking fields opened on the 28th of July, 3 of which had been on the same day. Mr. Wilson said, we've always had photo shoots here, but they're always respectfully done, and it's always organized so other people are not affected. People are having fun and taking pictures for their Instagram, but we just ask that they keep their clothes on.
I would like to point out, I don't believe Mr. Wilson knows what the word isolated means. 3 on the same day. That's not isolated. That's a plague.
One visitor commented on the farm's Facebook page, yes, we stumbled on a, quote, session. I'm not a prude, but I don't expect to see almost naked bodies while searching for the best blooms. Another reported a woman wearing just a thong, adding, our son got a right eyeful last night. Should have seen his face. Most commenters saw the funny side, although some speculated whether it had been a publicity stunt, while others defended the right of people to be naked in public. One man wrote, nothing wrong with topless, so teach children it is not right, and the taboo continues.
All right.
My guy going free the nipple on us.
So is it public or is this a private place?
No.
Like, if it's out in the public, then you do what you want. But if it's actually a privately owned place, I think they can make rules about that. And yeah, I think that last comment is off base.
Yeah, people pay money to pick sunflowers. They can pick us up to 6 and take pictures.
Yeah, I'm going to say keep the taboo on this one. Like,
yeah, if you're doing business,
I don't want to see your nudity when I go to this. Like in public, hey, it's a free for all out there. In a private place, like I'm walking in, I just want to take pictures of my family or my wife or pick some flowers. Like I don't want to see all that hanging out, man. I'm not here for that. Sorry if that makes me a prude, but I'm going to pass on that.
Anyway, yeah, Hayling Island, sunflowers.
I know one of you out there is planning your British Airways trip right now.
Vance in the YouTube comment says he wants to keep abreast of the situation.
Well done.
Really good.
Well done.
Really good.
My story today is going to take us to Coral Springs, Florida, where on August 13th, the Coral Springs police responded to a residence near the 300 block of 118th Avenue in response to reports of an aggravated assault with injuries involving a firearm. What could this have possibly been about? Using the toilet. According to the police report, officers encountered a man later identified as 41-year-old Frank Kim, who claimed that the altercation began when his brother returned home and requested to use the bathroom. Explaining his side of the story, Frank alleged to officers that he was in process of cleaning the bathroom, and he just asked his brother, the victim, to please wait. That led to a verbal argument between the siblings that escalated into a potentially deadly encounter. Frank alleged that his brother began throwing various household items, including a speaker. In an attempt to protect himself, he swatted the speaker away, which injured his thumb. Then, Frank claimed he drew his firearm as a last result in self-defense. However, he denied racking the gun or pointing it at his brother. However, my friends, officers then interviewed the victim, who offered a different account of the evening.
Got to hear both sides.
He explained that as the argument ensued, both individuals threw items at each other and that Frank had drawn the firearm, racked it, and then pointed it in his direction while making threats. In fear for his life, the victim told police he fled the residence and called 911. By the way, the sibling's mother was also present during this incident. After investigating and interviewing all parties, including the brother's parents, police determined that there was probable cause to believe that Frank committed the offense of aggravated assault with a firearm and that his actions were not entirely in self-defense. He was then sent to jail.
Like, look, I kind of get it. Like, if I need to use the bathroom, I don't want to wait. I don't know how long I have to wait. In the middle of cleaning the bathroom, clearly there wasn't another one. But, yeah, sometimes those things can't wait, man.
Yeah, no,
sometimes you got to be a little more understanding. Like, I'm sorry you're going to have to clean it again and might have to wait 15, 20 minutes before you go back in there and finish the job. But look, time and tide wait for no man.
I will, if I got to go that badly, I will help you clean. I will help you take care of the cleaning. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
Who you got?
I'm going to go with, trigger play over the bathroom is pretty wild. I'm going to go with that one today.
I'm with you on that. Although keep your clothes on at the Sunflower Farm, guys. Come on. Finally, let's get our weekly winner. Does that take down the fire damaged house?
No, the lie about the arson still moves on.
Our arson liars pick up the win again in What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Top City Metal Supply, which you can find on South Topeka Boulevard. Coming up after this, we'll get you some audio from Chiefs camp here on 580 Sports Talk. Kansas City Chiefs camp wrapping up in St. Joe today. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes both took to the podium to speak. So let's hear first from Big Red, Chiefs head coach Andy Reid, speaking earlier today in St. Joe.
All right. Great to have the military out here today. It's a neat thing that the Chiefs do and a great relationship we have with them. And so, without them, none of us get to do our jobs, right? And so we appreciate that. Thanks to Missouri Western State University here, man. They've been tremendous again for us, treating us well, feeding us well, and the hospitality is second to none. And then the fans, coming out here, they've been incredible every day. I mean, there's a load that comes out, and we appreciate that. The players feel it makes practice, as hard as practice is, it makes it go a little smoother for them. It gets their juices going, which is special. As far as the playtime goes for this coming game, the ones will go for a half, and then we'll mix in the twos and threes in the third and fourth quarter. And obviously there's things that happen, during the game where don't hold me completely accountable for all that. If we pull people out, whatever. So, and then I don't have an injury list for you, but really it's the same as yesterday. Nothing's changed. Okay. You guys have anything?
Yeah, you obviously feel Pat gets some value out of playing in the preseason. How do you juggle the injury factor, the injury possibility with getting him the work he needs?
I try to get. Listen, you try to get equal. Balance that equal player against player. So if you had your drugs, you want ones versus ones, and that whole deal when you're in game. But I just got in mind as I go, and then I just take it my gut feeling after that. So if I pull guys early, it's just something I feel at that time. Yeah.
What about the risk of him and other guys obviously getting injured?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's all part of the game. They've got to get ready for the game, and at the same time, I think it's tough going in the first game. It's going to be fast, much faster than what you can present in practice, the regular season game. This at least is another step up from that. Gives you, just a little kick up speed-wise of the game.
What do you want to see? Go ahead. What do you want to see different from game one?
Yeah, well, you're always looking for execution as you go, increased execution from the first one. And not that we've spent a ton more time with the guys on the Cardinals. That's not it. I mean, it's pretty simple game plan again, but they're a week. They're kind of another week into those plays. So you expect them, and particularly the young guys, just to kind of handle that the right way. Old guys knock the rust off. Keep chipping away at that.
You've heard this before with the field in Arizona last week. The Broncos and Cardinals played, and it wasn't in great shape. The Cardinals practiced on that field too. Any concerns, or are you going to have any evaluation that you guys do?
Yeah, no. Listen, we know what the field has been. We've checked on it, which we do every week, everywhere. So, and it's actually in pretty good playing shape. It might not look the best when you're looking at it on tape, but they say it's gripping well, and that's what you want. You want the sturdiness of the turf there. So.
These past 2 days, it looked like he ran some more plays with the top teams. What did you see?
Yeah, he's got a knack. Kind of does everything well. He's good in the pass game, good protection, good in the run game, good eyes, vision, feet. So he's been very consistent through the camp, and he picks things up easy. So that's been good for him, I think.
Coach, was this a good camp? Are you happy with did you get accomplished what you needed to?
Yeah, up here, I just mentioned it to the team that you've established, you started this foundation. This is where it starts. You're building this thing as it goes up. Every week is different. Every day is different in this thing, but you've accomplished some things here that's going to help carry you through during the season in a positive way. So, and then we take it one day at a time from there, just like they did when they were up here. You had to focus it. You couldn't say a month ago that we're looking for this day right here, or you're not going to get any good workout. So they took it, they figured it out day by day, and crawled out of bed and got themselves mentally and physically ready to go and practiced hard.
What does a guy like Chris miss from not being here?
Yeah, probably those things that I just mentioned. That it's a fast game. So, and then when he gets in, he's gonna have to get caught up. So.
A little off topic, I've been asking several players this, but what did you have for breakfast this morning?
I actually didn't eat breakfast this morning. I like your hat though. But I didn't eat breakfast this morning. I know that's hard to believe.
All right.
Andy Reid is unbelievable. I don't really believe Andy skipped breakfast. The man just loves food way too much. Also, he knows we're on to him with the guys not actually playing full quarters or halves in the preseason. He's obviously on to us. That's Andy Reid, one future Hall of Famer. How about another? Here's quarterback Patrick Mahomes, who also spoke today in St. Joe.
You guys, how much you improved from the first time you got here?
I thought it was a good camp. We improved on a lot of stuff. We didn't add a lot of new receivers, but getting those new receivers in and getting them flowing around, and the guys that have been here for the second year, you can see the improvements on how they practice. But I thought it was a good camp, offense, defense, and special teams. We kind of just flew around, and we competed every day, which you always want.
Over the last month, who were some of the guys that caught your eye both sides of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the offensive line did a great job throughout camp, just battling. I mean, there's some long days, a lot of plays. I thought they did a good job of keeping that mentality throughout practice. I thought the DBs, a lot of those young DBs were moving around everywhere. Spags is really testing them to see what they could really do, and I thought they did a great job of responding to that. But I thought that throughout, I mean, there was days where the offense got the defense, days defense got the offense, and that's what you want in a camp. Is you want it competitive, and every day guys going out there and competing.
Yardage been a little bit of a problem for you guys?
Probably because my kneecap was on the side of my leg. I think we were doing pretty good until that. We were good. We were really good at it until last year. I mean, last year we didn't do very well at it, so we didn't get the one in that first one of the preseason. So we've went back and kind of evaluated it, and hopefully by the time season comes around, we can get back to converting those.
Any discussion with Andy about putting that quarterback sneak back?
I always want to, because I always say that I haven't got stopped yet, but because even the one that I got hurt on, I still got the first down. But I'm pretty sure he's not going to let me do it unless it's like for the Super Bowl or not. So I might have to call my own number in the Super Bowl if we get there.
Patrick, what did you see as far as growth with your two first-year receivers you've been working with, Rashee Rice and then Justin Ross?
I thought they did a great job. I think y'all know as much as everybody that that receiving position, that DB position, that training camp is the hardest place to be. I mean, just so much running that we do. And I thought those guys got better and better, and they learned how to finish and how to keep that mentality throughout an entire practice. And I mean, their talent they have the talent of most talent I think I've seen out of every receiver that I've always been in. They have a lot of talent, but you have to learn how to be consistent every single day. And I think they got better and better at that as they continue to go.
Your 6th or 7th year in St. Joseph, and Coach Reed's always really complimentary of the hospitality and the service here. I know dorm life isn't super glamorous, but what do you appreciate most just about this particular venue and setup for camp?
I think I just I really am interested, and I really have a fun time with just meeting people. A lot of times when you're in the building, you're with the offense, and even though you have some team meetings, you don't get to see those defensive guys except for really on the traveling on game day and that weekend. And so being able to eat lunch, go to Chick-fil-A and go get some pizza, whatever it is, with just different guys that you're not around all year long, you build those relationships. And I think that's what St. Joe's, the best part about St. Joe is that you get out here and you really get to see those guys you don't see maybe as much throughout the year and build those relationships. And that's what builds that bond that you have whenever times get tough during the regular season.
What do you want to see in game 2 going from preseason game number 1 to number 2?
It's better energy, better urgency just from the get-go. I thought the young guys did a great job in the second half of kind of picking it up. But I think just from the get-go, offense and defense, just having that urgency to go out there and compete. It's a preseason game, and obviously the results don't necessarily matter, but they do if you want to build a culture of winning. And we have a lot of young guys, and even though they won a Super Bowl, they have to know how to respond and get even better the second year. And so I think just having a better urgency from the get-go throughout the entire game. Not as much the result. You obviously want to win, but you want to have that mentality throughout the entire game.
I didn't make the Super Bowl. Can you tell the difference between a good camp and you guys may have made to the Super Bowl?
You can. I think more is just the day-to-day grind throughout the entire camp and into the regular season and throughout the season. You have to keep that mentality. I've had some great camps where we came in and that mentality didn't go through the entire season and you didn't get the payoff that you wanted. And so even though I feel like we had a great camp, we have to have that mentality. It's not done. I mean, we still got weeks of practice getting ready for the game. That first regular season game against a Detroit Lions team that's hungry and ready to come out there and try to beat us. And so we have to have that mentality. We can't just be satisfied with how camp went. We have to keep that mentality throughout the entire season.
Patrick, going back to Arizona this weekend, where you guys won the Super Bowl last year, is there going to be a couple times where you're going to kind of look over and reminisce like, hey,
I mean, maybe for like a second. I think we have a lot of stuff that we continue to work on. And so I kind of said it after the ring ceremony. It was it's it. We're trying to go back and get another one. And so I'm sure when I first step on the field, there'll be a little bit of looking around and saying, like, hey, man, it was a great time last time we were here. But we got a job to do, and that's to get better. Playing against a Cardinals team that played a really good first preseason game, and so we know it's going to be a mentality of going out there and playing our best football.
Last one. What would you like to see from this team that improve upon as you leave this camp in preparation for the season?
Yeah, I think it's just that mindset. I mean, the mindset of every single day, just making yourself better and getting the best out of it is something that you have to continue to preach and continue to do with any football team. And so there's a lot of parity in this league. Anybody can beat anybody. I think y'all know that. And so we have to have that mentality every single day or we'll get beaten, especially in the division that we are in the AFC West and the AFC. Every single week, every opponent we play is going to play us to the best of their ability. So we have to make sure that we go out there with that mentality.
That is QB1 Patrick Mahomes also speaking today in St. Joe.
Great answer about short yardage. Yeah, we haven't been the same at it since my knee was on the side of my leg. It's what everybody's thinking. I admire him for saying it.
Yeah, appreciate the honesty. I can definitely say that. We've got 1 hour left coming up on 580 Sports Talk, including our Chiefs training camp report with Mitch Holthus, and we will have our 580 Sports Talk headlines as well. That's coming up after the news right back here on 580 WIBW. of 580 Sports Talk on Thursday, August 17th. Final day in San Diego for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. That is Dan Lucero, and we're here with you until 6 o'clock today. No overtime today. No, it's going to be Dave Ramsey hanging out with you at 6 o'clock today.
No overtime for a while, so apologies to any overtime fans out there.
The overtime hive. I know you're out there. You love that half hour between 6 and 6:30. I know you're out there. Someone's out there. Everything that exists, I would say nearly everything that exists in the world, like someone is a fan of that thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if those things are inappropriate, there are probably a lot of fans of those things, as we found out with our story at the Naked Sunflower Farm.
That's called Rule 34.
Yeah, something like that. But we appreciate you guys hanging out with us here today. Another short show coming up tomorrow. Royals Cubs day game, 1:20 first pitch for the Royals and Cubs coming up tomorrow at beautiful Wrigley Field. Looking forward to that one. Cubs have been red hot. The Royals have been fun. They've been hitting the ball pretty well overall. So looking forward to that game coming up tomorrow. We will join you after the game up until 6 Friday here on Fox. We'll get to our Chiefs training camp report with Mitch Holthus. And K-State basketball in action earlier today. A loss for Team Mexico, the Mexican national team. They are currently training for the FIBA World Cup, which will be contested in Manila in the Philippines starting in 8 days. So they got a scrimmage in against K-State today. K-State actually wore uniforms for this game. I was very pleased by that they didn't wear the gross gray practice pennies again. And then they lost. But we'll break down that game and the good and the bad that did come from that K-State game earlier today. Your texts are welcome throughout the show. You know the text line number, 785-272-9429. And YouTube, comment section, wide open. Busy day in the comment section for a short show. Appreciate you guys who are watching along with the show today. Go to YouTube, where our channel is called 580 Sports Talk. Didn't get it wrong that time.
You got it, man.
YouTube.com. Go to the search bar, 580 Sports Talk. We are the first result. Subscribe, check out the videos, watch the live stream, comment, check out all the old stuff. So much to check out on our YouTube channel. We would love for you to do so today. With that, our 580 Sports Talk headlines getting underway. We need a sounder for this. We need some sort of alert or alarm because Chiefsaholic is back at it, folks. Rather, some of the activities he was doing before he was reapprehended, we have now found out about it.
I can do the theme to Dragnet. How about that?
All right.
Best I got for you. Let's this is our Chiefsaholic sounder.
That's fitting, actually. That's very fitting. A federal grand jury has indicted infamous Chiefs superfan Chiefsaholic again today, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Missouri. Xavier Babadar, known better as Chiefsaholic, is accused of 3 counts of armed bank robbery, 1 count of bank theft, 11 counts of money laundering, and 4 counts of transporting stolen property across state lines.
That's a lot of money laundering. How is he money laundering, Brendan?
Well, federal prosecutors allege that Babadar laundered the proceeds through casinos in the Midwest and used the funds to attend Chiefs home and away games. Babadar, known as Chiefsaholic on social media, wore a gray wolf suit to games. This is, by the way, the writing of David Perdum from ESPN. Wore his wolf suit to games and was often shown on broadcasts. In a criminal complaint unsealed in July, he was linked to 6 robberies and 2 attempted robberies in a 9-month stretch from March of last year to December of last year, from Clive, Iowa to Bixby, Oklahoma, which is where he was first arrested. In total, authorities allege that Babadar stole more than $800,000. According to the release from the Department of Justice, Babadar fled while he was out on bond in Oklahoma after receiving $100,000 in winnings from an Illinois sports book on bets on Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes to win NFL MVP and on the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. The indictment alleges that days after receiving that money, he cut his ankle monitor and fled the state and was on the lam for 3 months.
So, yeah, they sent him a check for $100,000 to Argosy outside of Kansas City there, I believe is the casino in question.
Well, if it would have been in Illinois, right? Winning Sherman, Illinois sports book.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was the Argosy in Illinois.
Yeah, because there are, especially in that part of Illinois on the Mississippi River, there are a lot of casinos.
Yeah. I had my borders wrong there, and I apologize. But yeah, they sent him $100,000 check.
That's wild.
It is, isn't it?
I would think if you're a casino,
you know, if any of your gamblers are in the news, any of your high liability customers are in the news.
Yeah. And honestly, like, and I don't know a ton about the casino aspect of the gambling business. I'm not a big casino guy generally, but I would kind of think that policy would be if you don't claim it, you don't get it. Like, we're not just going to send $100K to you through the mail.
Do you think that came FedEx, or you think he had to sign for that? Do you think when he signed for it, he signed Chiefsaholic?
A, I would think so, and B, I would hope so.
Let me get to the best part of this story here.
I can't. This entire story is insane. Like, the entire saga of Chiefsaholic is insane. This part of it really kind of puts a bow on how funny and dumb the whole thing is.
This is the most amazing statement I've ever read from a lawyer. Babadar's defense attorney is Kansas City-based lawyer Matthew T. Merriman. He released a statement today. The government's announcement today of its 19-count indictment provides an unfair and unjust portrayal of Xavier. The truth is that since 2018, Xavier Babadar, a.k.a. Chiefsaholic, has entertained, inspired, unified, and motivated Kansas Cityans, the Chiefs Kingdom, and hundreds of millions of football fans around the globe. It's now the fourth quarter of the most important game of Xavier's life, and his legal team believes his innocence will ultimately be proven to the public, and we are confident that once all of the facts are known, that he will be redeemed in the eyes of his supporters, admirers, and the Chiefs Kingdom.
Imagine being in the fourth quarter of the most important game of your life and your quarterback is Tyler Palko. Like, this is a nightmare. A nightmare of a statement. You really think the Department of Justice is saying, damn, this dude really galvanized the Chiefs Kingdom?
Hundreds of millions of football.
Who is this guy?
Hundreds of millions of football fans.
You know, we don't have a rule about double jeopardy and what is wrong with you. I don't think we've ever established one. This statement could have been one today. This is the worst lawyer statement I've ever heard in defense of a client.
So there are 7.888 billion people in the world. Hundreds of millions, we are assuming, like, was that, when we say 200 million, 300 million?
Yeah.
Because 7.888 billion is 7,888 million.
Right.
How
that math ain't mathing, guys.
Yeah, what percentage of those have been inspired by Chiefsaholic?
Yeah.
Motivated.
A lot of Mongolians rocking Mahomes jerseys.
Motivated by Chiefsaholic. Yeah, but we all thought he was this scrappy up-and-comer who came from nothing to manage a chain of warehouses.
This is it's so insane. This has to be a joke, but it's not.
No. This man is dead serious.
This man robbed all these banks, and this is the best he could afford for his lawyer?
Oh, my God.
I cannot believe it, man. I genuinely cannot believe this. That is an all-time quote.
Inspired, unified, and motivated. Now, I think he has unified Kansas Cityans. They all think he's a schmuck.
Yeah.
I think that is one thing that might be true. They've all unified Kansas Cityans. They all think you're a moron. They all think you're a dope that's going to jail.
Here's the other thing, too. I know he was big on social media, right? Like, that's where Chiefsaholic really took off.
Yes.
And the persona really took off. It's not like he had LeBron James numbers of Twitter followers. Not like he had, like, Katy Perry's Twitter following. He had, like, 50,000 followers.
Yeah.
That's
fit,
nice.
You can fit all of his followers at Arrowhead Stadium and still have room to sneak into the upper deck.
That's enough to, like, have people who sell marital aids like DM you and say, hey, will you like tweet about my products? Like spam tweets.
Yeah.
Advertising on your viral tweets. Like that's about as popular as he was.
That one woman who replies to every tweet
with her nude pictures.
With her nude pictures.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, dude, you weren't President Obama, man.
Motivated.
I can't believe it.
Man, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are looking at this saga and Chiefsaholic and thinking, that could be me. One of these days, that could be me knocking over credit unions across the state of Iowa and then turning around and putting those on 8-leg prop parlays for the Chiefs.
Blake Bell, Chiefs defense, Patrick Mahomes on the ground, touchdown parlay.
Right. Well, all I need today is for Harrison Butker to catch a touchdown.
Plus 94,000.
And my 9-leg parlay is going to pay me millions. And then I can flee the country.
Matt Bushman over 80 yards receiving. I can feel it.
He got that $100,000 check in the mail. I was like, it's up. He got his monitor. He's like, I can live off the grid forever.
This is absolutely preposterous.
What was his plan if the Chiefs had lost?
It might have gotten real dark real fast if we're being honest. Like I know clearly he had the cash. Tipping over all these banks, but I kind of have a feeling
he was going to go legit. He was going to really go buy a warehouse.
Yeah.
And possibly live in it. Who can say?
Unified.
He unified hundreds of millions of football fans.
It's one of the worst statements in any context.
The delusion. It's just oozing with delusion.
Should we get to a few other headlines from actual athletes?
Yeah, sure. Let's we got some NFL news, so we can go around the NFL real quick. Star Eagles pass rusher Hassan Reddick in English is going to need thumb surgery. Injured his thumb during Monday's joint practice with the Cleveland Browns. The Eagles are confident that the injury and resulting surgery will not cause him to miss week 1 and expect him to suit up when they play the Patriots on September 10th. The Ravens are going through some injury issues in their defensive backfield. We mentioned it yesterday. Marlon Humphrey is expected to miss time after undergoing foot surgery. So the Ravens have added journeyman Ronald Darby. That's not my word. That's the word Jamison Henley of ESPN uses to describe the well-traveled Darby. 29 years old. This will be his 5th team. He tore his ACL last year after playing 5 games for the Broncos.
Yeah, that was tough. Good player. I thought Ronald Darby, when he was a little bit younger and was healthier, I thought he was a real nice player.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad player at all. Yeah.
A couple other personnel notes today. Let's see. Well, one major personnel note. Let's get to the big one. Joe Mixon has been found not guilty of aggravated menacing by Judge Gwen Bender in Cincinnati. That is significant, obviously, for the Cincinnati Bengals, that their star running back is not found guilty of such a crime, which may have included jail time. I don't know for sure if that is true. But as we know, the NFL they do not have to just abide by the rule of law when they are handing out suspensions or punishments of their own. So I don't know. I don't know if Joe Mixon is going to end up getting in some other trouble with the league. Joe Mixon has run into a lot of trouble in his football playing career.
He has.
And, at some point, and I'm not going to go as far as to say, like, Joe Mixon's a bad guy. I think he has done some very bad things, going back to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And that is very much on display. At some point, though, you keep getting in trouble, and no matter how good you are, unless you are a superstar, let's be frank, quarterback, you run out of leash at some point. And teams are just willing to say, hey, man, we're cool just letting you walk away. The Bengals already cut his pay for this year. They agreed to an amended contract that he's going to get paid less money this year than he was originally owed. I would imagine this is probably his last year in Cincinnati, and I don't know that he's going to get another long-term deal with someone, considering how many problems he's had off the field. So something to keep an eye on there, NFL-wise. That's good for Hassan Reddick. He's not going to miss time. He's a fun player.
Yeah, 16 sacks last year, second in the NFL.
Kind of amazing how many guys over time the Arizona Cardinals have screwed up.
Why they are who they are.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it gets to be part of your identity. Losing teams, losing franchises, stay losing. And the reason that happens, one of many, is that you misevaluate or misuse players who then flourish elsewhere.
Next headline for me today, the NBA schedule for this coming season is out. Can I interest you in opening night Nuggets versus Lakers?
Why, yes, you can, Brendan. Do you know what they're going to do in Denver that night?
They're going to hang the banner.
They're going to raise the banner and hand out the rings, and LeBron's got to watch it. He's got to sit there and look.
And then you're going to get a screenshot.
While his dad, Nikola Jokic, gets ring.
You're going to get a screenshot of him growling and scowling at the Nuggets, and it's going to go wild on social media, and people say, oh, my God, Bron locked in.
You know what I'm psyched about is that'll be the first game of the season, Denver and the Lakers, and it will tip off at 5:30, I think. It'll tip off really early.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to the typical 8:30 Mountain Time tip-off that the Nuggets typically get on national TV. It'll tip off at like a decent time where I can watch it and not have to immediately go to bed after the game. So I'm excited for that. Also very excited that the Nuggets Christmas Day game against the Warriors is 2:30 Eastern. I know that's a big NFL day, but I'm watching the Nuggets at 1:30. And unlike last year where their double overtime classic against the Suns didn't end until 1 o'clock Mountain Time, I will actually get to go to bed at a decent time on Christmas night. So
That'd be
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, excited that some love being shown to the champs.
By the way, if you are just a fan, if you're maybe more of a casual NBA fan, you're like, I'm going to watch the national games. Like when they're on ESPN, TNT, I'll watch the games. Maybe I don't have a favorite team or favorite players, but I'll watch. I want to watch good basketball. I hope you like the Los Angeles Lakers because they got 40 national games this year.
Yeah, I think it's 28 on the networks, or 26 on the networks, and then 14 more on NBA TV.
Hope you love them. Hope you just can't get enough of them.
The most national TV games, by the way, would be the Warriors. 28 national TV games for the Warriors, 26 for the Lakers, 21 for the defending champion Nuggets, 25 for the Celtics, 25 for the Suns.
I can understand most of those. The Lakers weren't good for most of last year, but they're the Lakers. They've got LeBron.
Hey, they made the conference finals and they almost won a game.
Oh, almost. They gave the Nuggets the hardest time they had all playoffs.
The most difficult sweep you've ever seen.
Kathleen in the YouTube comment says, I thought what is wrong with you was last hour in regard to the Chiefsaholic story. I can't get over it, man.
I'll never get over it.
It's the worst quote from a lawyer maybe of all time.
Really?
Maybe in all of history. That does it for today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. Let's get to a break, and we'll get to Mitch Holthus coming up after this here on 580 Sports Talk. the sports talk is our good friend Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, for our Chiefs training camp report brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Ask Haven, Crystal, or Melissa about using the Credit Union Advantage for your home loan at Azura Credit Union. Mitch, how was the final day at Missouri Western in St. Joe today?
Honestly, spectacular. It's Military Appreciation Day. And there were some here from Topeka, actually, I think from the Coast Guard Pace Center, which is usually the case. And then a couple of guardsmen from the Kansas National Guard. But then we had all the branches. It was great. They get to go down on the field after practice, shorter practice, but a really good tempo, which is what coach is wanting to see Saturday night. And now you break camp after being up there 30 days, basically. And a quick twirl, pack, unpack, pack, and go to Phoenix tomorrow.
I assume, Mitch, you were staying in a dorm as well.
Oh, yeah, I stay in the dorm, cinder block dorm, just like freshman year of college. And the players have a little bit nicer dorm. I was in the player dorm up until COVID, and then they, had to keep me distance, and then they never put me back. I don't know why, but I always knew I was a little bit of trouble when I saw Morgan Freeman's in the room next to me, and they said. And he's like, "Don't go change the movie reels." So I thought, I'm about chiseled out. We're real close.
Well, Mitch, let's get to today's training camp report. And the subject of our report today is a player I'm super excited about. I was telling you yesterday, I cannot wait for this guy to make an impact this year. Drew Tranquill, the linebacker who was acquired in free agency this year, who it felt like the Chiefs got a deal on. Dan and I were talking about this the other day, Mitch. We were in Des Moines covering KU at the NCAA tournament this year when the news broke that the Chiefs were signing Tranquill, and we looked at each other and thought, why did the Chargers let this guy get away? He's coming off of his best year. He's young. He's athletic. I feel like he is going to be a massive steal for this Chiefs defense.
I'm always fascinated during any NFL offseason how some divisions like to take guys from other division teams, right? The AFC East, to me, leads the way. Let's see, the Jets will rob Bills. The Bills will rob the Dolphins. The Dolphins will rob Patriots, and the Patriots will rob the Jets. Just look at it every year.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see these guys just kind of rotate around. The AFC West isn't like that much, although here's Frank Clark, who is now a Denver Bronco. So, yeah, a little bit. But for the Chiefs to get Drew Tranquill away from the Chargers, I think is significant. It's really one of those moves where it strengthens the Chiefs in some areas and maybe weakens the Broncos. How did the Chargers let him get away? They are reaching the point the Chiefs have already been in for a year, and they had mega deal with Mike Williams, right? They got Herbert. They're going to try to figure out and what he fits into the cap. So they can't pay everybody and keep everybody. Chiefs couldn't keep Colin Saunders. They had to let him go and go to the Saints. I mean, we see it every year. So, but Tranquill now is a perfect fit for the Chiefs. Coming into Spag's system, Tranquill can do a lot of different things. The Chiefs had him as a target in recruiting, so to speak. And for Tranquill, though, now he's got a really interesting perspective because he looks at the Chiefs from the outside in, and now he's in. But his perspective is an interesting one to hear.
You can certainly understand why they're winning championships here. From the support staff, coaching staff, players. It's just been a well-oiled machine, and I've enjoyed being here. Yeah, well, when they were recruiting me in free agency, one of the biggest things they liked was my versatility, my ability to cover, my ability to play the run, to rush the passer. And so he's going to utilize me in all those different ways, and made it very clear that he's going to lean on my strengths and put me in positions to be successful.
And being successful, and the he is talking about is Steve Spagnuolo, and we've already seen that in camp and throughout the spring and summer, where can play linebacker. He's got a little safety hybrid to him. I will make a prediction on August the 17th that there will be a game this year. Write it down and see if I'm right or wrong. We'll visit it in week 17. That Drew Tranquill will win a game for the Chiefs. Scoop and score, pick six, jump a slant route. Here's the other thing he does is he's hopefully a little bit of insurance against how everybody's throwing to the backs. In this division, it's really popular. Broncos like to do it, but nobody does it more than the Chargers. Everything's Herbert's like firing it down the field to Keenan Allen. He's looking to Austin Eckler first, second, sometimes third. So you have to be able to cover those running backs at second level routes, circles, angles, sometimes goes, maybe the third level. Tranquil gives you that chance because he looks kind of linebacker-ish, and then he looks kind of defensive back-ish. But here's what I did not realize, where he's bringing a little bit of something to the Chiefs. You guys ready for this one?
Let's do it.
He's actually helping Travis Kelce.
Interesting.
Here's why. Ladies like Travis Kelce, sucre, right? We got to take some pressure off Kelce. They're like, there's Kelce, woo, Kelce, woo. Wait a minute. Then they see Tranquil, and they're like, who's that guy? So, in fact, now what? I don't want to cause anybody to stumble here in the kingdom, but a lot of the ladies listening to you right now go, have you guys seen Drew Tranquil? Oh, okay. So, just saying, he's taking some pressure off Kels.
I'll have to ask my wife. I'll bring up a picture of Drew Tranquil when I get home tonight.
And then he comes in for his first presser at camp, and he's got like the lifting shirt with no sleeves, and you're like, come on, dude, that's not even fair. Don't even do that.
He's got great facial hair. He looks like he could be in a Gillette ad.
Oh, he's Gillette. He can be in any ad, and I'm just telling you, it's like, hey, Kels. Oh, wait a minute, the old dog. Who's he? So, been a lot of that at camp.
Hey, always good to have a lot of extra competition, right?
You got it. You got it for sure.
That's
exactly right.
In that linebacker room, Mitch, and that's a spot.
It ain't going to come from Shane Buechele. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Oh my gosh. I was going to say, the linebacker in general, whether it's off ball, inside, not the edge guys, those guys get all the hype, but that's a position group that has become a lot less in vogue in the NFL, and not quite to the degree of running backs on offense, Mitch, but linebackers have been overlooked a lot for the upfront guys and the big name secondary players. So you've got to be able to do a ton of things. You've got to be a great athlete to be a great linebacker in today's spread it out NFL. Is there any linebacker room in the league that is athletic as the Chiefs group? When you look at Nick Bolton might be the least laterally athletic of all of them, and he's still way above average in that category. Gay is a crazy athlete. Chanel was one of the best linebacker testers ever at the combine, and Drew Tranquil is a great athlete too. Does anyone stack up just in terms of raw athleticism at the linebacker spot?
I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I don't know. I'm trying to think what Philly's got. Maybe, I don't know. It would be right up there. I'm going to have time to scan all 31 teams here and give you a great answer. I'm going to throw another one in there who's had a really good camp, and it's Jack Cochran, who's the dude out of South Dakota, and Captain America, our West Point cadet in Cole Christensen. They're sneaky athletic. When you watch them, it's just a group that can run. Coach Reed was mentioning to me the other day just about how the back seven now overall and can just run that much better. But these linebackers, but your point, and both your guys' point is a good one, in that defense has so dramatically changed in the National Football League, in my opinion, the last 5 to 7 years, is the day of the big thumping Brian Urlacher, Dick Butkus linebackers kind of over. That's your interior defensive lineman.
Yep.
Your linebackers have got to be fast, and they got to be able to cover, and they got to play the run. They got to do all, and that's where Tranquil comes into play because he's got that skill set.
Our guest is Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk for another training camp report brought to us by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. You made an interesting point, Mitch, that there's not a lot of personnel movement between the AFC West teams. Maybe not like there used to be. I remember when I was a kid, it seemed like the Broncos were always signing former Chiefs for their defense. And sometimes, like Neil Smith, that would work out good. And sometimes, like with Dale Carter, it didn't work out so good. But it felt like that was a lot more common when I was younger. In recent years, you're right, though, there hasn't been that much personnel movement between the divisional teams. What is the value of bringing in a guy that knows the division, that has competed in the division, that intimately knows one of the teams in the division, like Drew Tranquil with the Chargers? What is the inherent value in that a team and a player can benefit from?
Well, I do know what's overrated is you sign a player of the week, you're getting ready to play that team, and you put the hot light on them and go, "What will they run?" For the first 10 plays, like that doesn't work. Now Tranquil, in this case, because he's been around so long, can say, Eckler has these nuances. I respect Austin. He's good, right? But here's what he'll do. And if they show you this, they've got a tendency to do this. So there's a little of that. You got to be careful. I think it's a slight advantage, but not tons, not what you would think. The Chiefs didn't sign him to get the intel on the Chargers. They signed him because he's a really good player. And again, with his athleticism, he's going to win a game, or he has that ability.
He's one of the younger players to sign a one-year deal with the Chiefs in recent years, but there have been in recent years guys who have been willing to sign one-year deals, take mid-season contracts or accept trades to come to the Chiefs because it gives them an opportunity to win a championship. That's where the Chiefs are. That's the level at which they've performed. Is that something that guys talk about, particularly guys who are new to the organization, that the broad appeal of being a Chief lies in the fact that the standard is winning Lombardi trophies, and the opportunity exists to win in Kansas City at a level that it frankly doesn't exist in Los Angeles right now, and hasn't ever, but maybe doesn't exist in other places?
Drew Tranquill's a really smart guy. And that's the end result. But I think the really smart ones look at, well, how do you get there? What's your path to get there? And when the Chiefs were recruiting him, there were other suitors for Tranquill. They say, here's what we do, and here's how it goes. And here's what your May is, and here's what your June is, and here's what your July is, and here's what camp is. And Tranquill, I think, has the wisdom and toughness to go, yeah, that's what I want to do. Then he's also that, and he scheme fit for Spags, who likes to do, going back to one of our second reports with Bolton 2 weeks ago, is the fact that Spags does everything. Like, he put the 11 starters down, and you just kind of chuckle because you're really going to play 17 guys. I mean, because there's so many combinations. But Tranquill now becomes, in essence, think of Ben Neiman in Super Bowl 54 that year. And then in 21, there were some times people kind of attacked Ben. I know the Buffalo Bills did. They got us we went to that NASCAR package with that smaller single linebackers, the 4-1-6. And Josh Allen went immediately to runs. He just checked out and went tempo. So we couldn't call timeout, or we'd have to call timeout to sub. We couldn't sub. They're just boom, 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 6-play touchdown. That changes with Bolton, but it also changes a little bit with Tranquill. But I think for Tranquill, he gives a real coverage linebacker to cover running backs, which has become a necessity now with these new 21st century defenses in the NFL. And the other thing, and I mentioned this too, I was just on a show this afternoon. Dan Minucci's the former K-State quarterback. He's a kind of a star in Arizona media-wise. But he had a guy on there that was an Eagles dude, right? He's thinking, well, what won the game? What won the game? And I go, it's a long story here. It's not an easy answer. But think of Bolton, scoop, and score. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. 21st century defense in the NFL is get a stop, steal a possession, start the sequence of plays, which is what happened against the Saints on Sunday afternoon when the Chiefs turned the game around. It was a sequence of all three phases. But Tranquill can start that sequence. Possession, or actually get points on the board like Bolton did. He's at the very least a 10-point turnaround in Super Bowl 57. So Tranquill gives you another person, and you just went through the room of Gay and Bolton, and we went right down the line. Chanel's can do it too. But here's Tranquill now, just one more piece to Spags' chessboard.
Chatting with Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. It's our Chiefs training camp report here on 580 Sports Talk, brought to you by Hy-Vee and by Azura Credit Union. Mitch, something I've picked up on for pretty much every individual we've talked about over the last few weeks, but especially the new guys, draft picks, free agent signings. I think you've used the phrase, he's a smart guy, or he's such a smart guy, so often. And I know when a team is being built and Brett Veach and the rest of the front office guys and Andy Reid are finding these guys they want to bring into this franchise, you have to look at a number of things. You can't just stick with one trait, and that's the only way you build the team. If you do that, you end up with the late years of Al Davis and the Raiders, where you just pick the fastest guys possible and built your roster that way. So I know it's not one specific trait, but do the Chiefs put more of an emphasis on both football and off-field smarts than maybe we give them credit for?
It's also their way of testing. They have a unique way when they're vetting guys of giving them basically quizzes. Think about the now famous 9 hours with Mahomes. Well, that goes in a truncated way with everybody they look at, because this is calculus. The Chiefs are football calculus, both offense and defense. And it's why Spags will always say, gosh, young guys, it takes them a while to catch on to the system. Although last year the rookies came blowing through and kind of debunked that theory. But the point still is they're an incredibly smart group. But when Brett Veach and his staff is vetting players, or they come in on visits, if they're free agents, they're going to get quizzed. And they're not even knowing they're getting quizzed. And so I think it's just the Chiefs doing some due diligence different than other teams in testing a player's acumen, both emotionally and mentally, because you got to check both those boxes to play on this team, but it's why they win and have won for a decade.
All right, Mitch, preseason game number 2 coming up this weekend. Is it checklist day tomorrow?
It is, and I'll be in the air, so I'm going to give you guys, I'll send you guys a report and just tape it, because I will be in flight when we get this on this segment. So I'll just send you a checklist, and we'll tape it and send it to you in the morning.
Can't wait. Mitch, thank you so much. Our training camp report with Mitch Holthus here on 580 Sports Talk, brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azure Credit Union. Appreciate it, Mitch. Have safe travels.
They just crashed your site. Everybody's looking at Drew Tranquil.
Have a good one, Mitch. We'll talk to you soon. That is Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, all right, look, I'll bite. He's a good-looking guy.
So I want to clarify one thing. That mention of Shane Buechele in reference to that conversation, that the person taking the heat off of Travis Kelce, such as it is, was not going to be Shane Buechele. That is not a comment one way or another on Shane Buechele's looks. Shane Buechele happens to be married. I just want to clear that up for Shane Buechele's sake, because you may have heard that and you may have thought, oh, that's not a very nice thing to allude to regarding Shane Buechele, perhaps, that he may not be a looker on the level of Travis Kelce or Drew Tranquil. No, that is not what was being said. What was being said is that Shane Buechele happily married to a former Miss Dallas, as it happens. Actually, she and Brittany Matthews, Mahomes, appear to be good friends. The Mahomeses and the Buechels have been hanging out. So, which you could understand. I mean, they play the same position, around the same age.
See each other a lot, yeah.
Both Texas guys, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, Shane Buechele is not Steve Buechele's son, right?
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, both sons of former major leaguers, so they have that in common too. Yeah, they of course they'd be friends.
Yeah, I'm like more than 100% sure that he's Steve Buechele's kid. I'm so certain of this. Now I gotta go look this up. His father Steve played in the MLB from 85 to 95.
Yeah,
is currently on TV with the Rangers.
Former Ranger and Cub, yes.
Yeah. That is Mitch Holthus, though, our Chiefs training camp report.
And Pirate, in case you want to use him on the Immaculate Grid tomorrow.
And who?
Maybe. And Pirate.
Oh,
for the Pirates. Never played with, I wonder if he ever faced Pat Mahomes.
Oh, I bet we could find that.
Now I'm curious. Probably not. So he went over to the National League in 1991, and I think Mahomes' major league career started in 92. So unless they cross streams in 1995 and interleague play or something. Well, was interleague play 94 or 95?
I do not know, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
He did spend another hot second with the Rangers in 95.
Yeah, maybe we'll
do some research into this.
Yeah, check the game logs.
See if they ever faced each other. We do have to get to a quick commercial break here on 580 Sports Talk. We still got plenty more of the show coming up, including K-State basketball in action again this morning against Team Mexico. How'd that go? Not super well, but not super poorly either. We'll talk about it next on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you, wrapping up 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday afternoon. The sweet sounds of Chromeo behind us as well. We're off right at 6 today, on late again tomorrow. Another Royals day game as they start a 3-game weekend set in Chicago on the north side against the Cubs. 12:30 pregame, 1:20 first pitch coming up tomorrow right here on the Royals Radio Network. We'll join you after the game until 6 on Friday afternoon. K-State was also in action today. The K-State men's basketball team, they took on Team Mexico, the Mexican national team, also in Abu Dhabi as they prepare for the FIBA World Cup, which will be played in the Philippines. Got it? A lot of globetrotting going on in this game.
Yeah, I guess.
I felt like this game was a lot like the previous game K-State played. I think the Mexican national team was better than the Israeli select team.
Mm-hmm.
No NBA players for Team Mexico, but their average age on their team was something like almost 31 years old.
Yeah, and they got a bunch of G League guys.
Yeah, I mean these are grown men.
Yes, these are pros. That's the first thing you have to remember about these exhibition games is that these are college kids playing professionals.
And to put up 81 points, lose by only 2, have a chance to tie or take the lead on the last possession of the game, you really can't ask for more than that.
No, it's fine. It's not cause for alarm. It's not the sky is falling that you didn't beat Team Mexico. It's not that. What you're looking for out of this is you're looking for, all right, how do these guys play together? What do the new guys look like? The guys who are new to the program. What do the freshmen look like in their first games, playing, wearing that uniform? And I think through 2 games, a lot of the early signs have been really good. I'll tell you, the one freshman of the 3 true freshmen that I thought might have the most trouble seeing some floor time as a freshman was Caleb Rich, just because I thought his size maybe made him a bit of a tweener. Jerome Tang started him this morning, and he played pretty well. He wore out in the fourth quarter. Jerome Tang said, all the young guys are kind of, finding out that they need to get their conditioning up. But I thought acquitted himself pretty well. I thought he and R.J. Jones and Day Ames have certainly had some moments in the first couple of games. Tyler Perry's letting it fly. He's shooting a lot of threes, made 5 of 10 from behind the arc.
You'll take that
in this morning's game. Yeah, I think that there are some good things. There are some positive signs. The people who are national college basketball pundits who checked the game out today, like Fran Fraschilla, I think tweeted about it. I want to say it was Jeff Goodman who said, oh yeah, well, after watching them this morning, that's a tournament team.
I agree. I think that's a little bit of a cold take. I think that was fairly established, but fair enough. These games are not about proving that you are a Big 12 title contender.
Right. And they're certainly not about winning or losing.
But what can you gain? You can gain chemistry and seeing what these guys look like playing next to each other. That's valid. And if nothing else, you start to develop it. You start to know, okay, here's what, Tyler Perry likes to do with the ball. Here is how the ball, if you're Cam Carter and you spent last year receiving passes from Marquise Noel and Desi Sills, what is it like catching a pass instead from Tyler Perry? What are post entries going to look like? What are we going to do without our big man, David Gasson, who is not on this trip? He is with the Dutch national team. What can we do there if he's not on the floor to still create offense, still block shots, still have a post presence, etc.? You can gain that kind of chemistry. And also, especially for these young guys, well, what do we got? Like, without having more than just a summer of workouts in regard to training, what do we have in Caleb Rich? What do we have in Day Ames? What is our starting point? Because I think even going from high school to college, AAU to college, your starting point is different. Because in high school, you can just use pure athleticism and be the best player on the floor.
Right.
But your starting point in college, I think, is a totally different place, for better or for worse. What do we have with that? And if this is the last game K-State plays on this trip, then I think already proof that, to use the phrase, we've got dudes who we are comfortable with, who we like their skill set, and we like that we're building something here.
Back to my point about Caleb Rich, he really stood out to Fran Fraschilla, who tweeted watching the game. He's a perfect Jerome Tang guy, and the East St. Louis native will be a K-State fan favorite. 6'7", 230 with a relentless motor and nose for the ball. I know he was a 3-star, but that won't matter.
I like that take.
Like, yeah, that's and again, that was the freshman of the three. Like, I thought RJ Jones' shooting, Day Ames' playmaking gave them more of a chance to get on the floor from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And they might all not. I mean, who knows? You know, Jerome Tang redshirted his freshman last year.
Yep.
He may do it again. But for the early returns to be this positive for Caleb Rich playing overseas, to be that comfortable and making an impact like that, that's a really, really good sign. I think for the freshman class as a whole, what we've seen has been really, really encouraging.
It might be too early to share this take, but I sort of feel like this is almost an old school kind of roster build for K-State. We know they're going to keep going after transfers, you know, Perry, Kaluma, now Quest Glover as well. But these freshmen, there's no one and done in the group, or probably even a two and done. But there's a lot of guys that I think by their junior, senior year are going to be all Big 12 caliber players. Yes. Like, they've got that kind of talent, kind of old school. And I like that, the way K-State's building that roster. One more break coming up, then we'll get to the final word here on 580 Sports Talk. Final word time to finish up 580 Sports Talk. Dan, you're first.
The MJ Melendez second half resurgence continues apace for the Royals. He had a WRC plus, that's Fangraphs 100 being neutral hitting metric of 138, 38% better than league average in the second half so far. That was before two more hits today, including an RBI double. It's great to see the bat coming around. It also needs to come around because, boy, did he ever make a mess of the field today, including misplaying a routine line drive right at him into a double, though he did participate in a relay that threw a runner out at home. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. But
take that.
Yeah, it's good to see the bat really coming around strong for MJ Melendez and the rest of the Royals.
Final word for me today is that if you are defending a criminal, alleged criminal, and they've been robbing banks and credit unions all over the United States, mostly west of the Mississippi River, I probably would not use the defense that they're a big fan of a football team as a reason why your client is innocent in his case. That's probably not something I would do. Just a tip for Mr. Merriweather, who's defending Chiefsaholic.
But he's so inspiring and motivating.
If you missed that at the top of the 5 o'clock hour, go check out the podcast page on our website, 580wibw.com, or head to YouTube, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Go check out any of today's live stream. That does it for us today. We're off until tomorrow after Royals postgame. They take on the Cubs at 1:20. We'll join you right after that. For Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Drzinski. Talk to you tomorrow on 580 Sports Talk.